stream. I said the next time I made hot sauce, I would go live. Ooh, too much camera angle. There we go. There we go. All right, cool. I'm gonna log into the chat real quick. I was gonna go a few minutes ago, but Ma Badger decided to give me a call. So, you know, Ma Badger calls. Honey Badger listens. Rick, what's up, buddy? Good to see you. But yeah, let me get connected into the chat, and we're gonna go ahead and get started. Ronald Coward, good to see you, pal. Just talking to both you guys. And we'll get hooked into the chat. But yeah, I was out. Actually, one of my few accomplishments from today was I was out picking in the garden and doing some gardening. And I just happened to have, I think is enough to make hot sauce. So this is going to be, it isn't going to be the Tabasco like I had, but it's going to be, it's going to be cayenne pepper sauce. So I think that'll work out for everybody. So let's get started. Yep, successfully connected to the live stream. So yeah, let me get my drink going. And this stuff is super easy. I mean, so super easy. It's almost ridiculous how easy this is. But we're just gonna take what I've got is about a week ago I picked these cayenne peppers, and I'm gonna throw in a couple Tabasco peppers just for a little extra heat. And then today down here is what I picked up out of the garden just a couple hours ago. And I kind of let them sit in some vinegar and washed them off and let them dry out as I was basking in the sun on the patio, listening to some midnight tiki lounge music and enjoying this beautiful afternoon. And these were dried up. These are dry enough now. I'm ready to go. It's only going to take just a couple of, a few ingredients, and we'll be ready to go. And this stuff is going to be ready to go. It's going to be ready to go basically as soon as it's done. This is the non-fermented version, so you know it doesn't have to sit. You can use it. You can use it today. You can use it 5 minutes after it's strained out. But the shelf life of it is really anywhere from 2 to 4 weeks. I was looking at the date on my other Tabasco sauce, and I'll break that out here in just a second. But I was looking at my other the Tabasco sauce that I made, and I'm gonna grab that out so I can check it out. Ada, how are you? William Hurt, what's going on, buddy? Good to see you. Glad everybody could show up for the surprise live stream. And I don't know if I've showed this to anybody. I don't know if this has come into play or not. But this was the sauce that I made about, what's the date on it? 8/29, and it's still going great. Now 5 ounces is not going to, I wanted to do this in real time with the real amounts, because I see in the videos it doesn't really show you a lot of times how much hot sauce actually makes. And this was about up to here, I think, when I actually got done with it. And this is the larger Tabasco. This is the larger Tabasco bottle. I just washed it out, sanitized it, and took all the stickers off, and then I just reused it. But this has been sitting in there for, you know, since the 29th of August. And I just used a little bit of it yesterday, and it's still going great. This won't last the weekend, because I'm going to be doing wings tomorrow. So that'll be enough for that. But 5 ounces is quite, if you don't grow, I don't grow a lot of pepper plants. I have one, actually this year I kind of cut down on the cayenne peppers because I had so many dehydrated from last year, and I have probably a pound of dried cayenne peppers left over, plus stuff for the shakers, you know, the stuff you chop, you kind of process, and you know, your red pepper flakes. I've got containers of that, so I didn't put up a lot of cayenne. And my Tabascos didn't do as well as they did last year. I probably could have made, last year off of one plant, I could have made about 5 bottles of actual Tabasco sauce. This year my peppers didn't do that great, so I've only gotten 1 so far this year. Handsome Stone, what's up, buddy? Good to see you. Just talked to Handsome Stone. I still have jalapenos, white habanero, and fish pepper. I do not have any idea what a fish pepper is. I have never heard of a fish pepper before until you mentioned that the other night. And I'm pretty positive that was you that mentioned that the other night. But yeah, so I didn't know, I don't know what that is. But I'm very, very interested to find out. But anyway, so what I've got here is I've got last week's, they came off my cayenne peppers, like I said, which is just a little bit under 2 ounces. So I'm going to add what I had from today. We're going to hit 5 ounces of peppers. And we're going to weigh these twice because we're going to take the stems off and reweigh it. So we might have to add a couple more. But all these peppers, that's going to be about, it's going to be pretty darn close to 5 ounces, if not all of it. And that's why I brought a couple of the Tabasco peppers in, just to get to 5 ounces of peppers, which that is going to be, all those is just exactly 5 ounces right there. That's 5 ounces of peppers. So we're going to take the stems off of those and we're going to go from there. So let me grab a cutting board and a knife, throw some gloves on, because one fun thing about this is this turns into, basically it's like making homemade mace in your kitchen. So you have that to look forward to. Fish pepper to me, no. Fish pepper. Oh man, I must have missed that in the description, in the comment section. Must have been talking about it. I don't know I'll have to look it up. Eric, what's up, buddy? How's the Pacific Northwest treating you? Glad you could make it. And we're just making a little hot sauce. I'm gonna throw some, I was gonna make some salsa, but I don't think I have enough peppers now. So I'm gonna have to edit the title of this, because all my peppers that I picked today are, unless I've got some sitting around somewhere, yeah, which there's no more out on the plants. So I think I'm gonna have to actually take that off of there, that we're gonna make salsa, because I thought I would have enough to do 5 ounces, but I do not. That's exactly 5 ounces, if you guys can see that. Don't rub your eyes while you're doing it. Yeah, exactly. Got the gloves on, brother. Got the gloves on. So we'll get these cut off real quick and take the stems off. Take the stems off right fast. And I'm going to do that as close to the top as possible. And we're going to get a few at a time to do that. And one of the reasons I wanted to do it this way, is people don't, when you see these videos on YouTube, a lot of times they don't go through how long this takes. This has taken me, the last time I did this, about 45 minutes start to finish. So let me throw I'm going to throw these into the pot as I go. And this is going to be some really fire sauce, actually. But it is only 3 ingredients. It's just this. If you're going to can it, I don't know if I said that to begin with, but if you're going to can it, there's 4%. If you're going to do the fermented version, make sure that you get the 5% acidity, not the 4%, because I didn't know until not too long ago that there is such a thing as 4% acidity on the market. And if you're canning, you can't use the 4%. It's not enough acid to ferment or can. I already just touched my. Did you see me just? I just touched my face, but I did it with my wrist, so I should be cool. But yeah, I can already. These are already the ones that have been sitting in the fridge for a while. They're ready to go. Smoking Bears, what's up, pal? Good to see you. But like I said, I promised the next time I did this that I would go live when I did it. And that's one thing I like to do with this silly little channel, is to do things in the amount of time that it actually takes to do it. Because when you see it, a lot of these videos are 3 minutes, and 3 minutes is not what it takes to make the sauce. Though it is ready to go immediately after you make it, and it's well worth it. I'm a big fan of Tabasco sauce, but I'm also a big fan of I'm a big fan of making this homemade. Plus, you know who, in my garden, I don't use any kind of chemicals. I don't use any kind, my fertilizers are all organic. And I use ladybugs and praying mantis as my insecticides. So, I'm not saying anything bad about Tabasco sauce or their process or anything, but things are a little better when you know who made it. And that's what I've been trying to get to for the last few years. Is everything that I do is just something I've done, and I don't know. It seems to taste better when you make it yourself. But yeah, unfortunately, I don't think we're going to be able to do the salsa part of this, because this took exactly, and it's a lot of peppers. I thought I would have enough left over, but we'll make this anyway. But it doesn't take a lot of red peppers to, I might just do a real mock version of a salsa. Rick, I did get your recipe for salsa. That's not what I intended to make, because to be honest with you, to make that for me, I would have to order a lot of that stuff, to be super, super honest. It does look very appealing, but at the same time, I would have to order it. So there we go. We're all in there, still good, everything. Only good things. Let's see. All right, so I'm just checking making sure the live stream's still going. So then we're gonna pop over to this way. And the one thing I like about this, as opposed to the same day, as opposed to the fermented version, is the salt content is really low for this. We don't need much salt to do the non-fermented. If you did a fermented version, most recipes call for 2 to 3 tablespoons of salt. This one is only a 1/4 teaspoon of salt, so that's kind of that's a good thing, especially if somebody is salt sensitive. So there we go. So we've got 1, and I did 1 cup with my last salsa, or my last hot sauce, and I think it was too thick, so I'm going to go with 1 1/4 cup of the vinegar this time. It was way too, I thought it was way too thick the last time I did it, so we're going to, I'm going to put that up to high on the correct burner, I promise. I'm going to put that onto the correct burner, and go from there. And then I'm going to add my salt. What's up, Rusty? How are you? Did you guys not do a thing on Wednesday? If you did, I didn't see it. But I did get a thing from from YouTube today that said, "Hey, sorry about your numbers. Nobody's been getting notified that you're on." So that's kind of answered some questions that I had. So this is exactly 1 1/4 teaspoon of salt. So there we go. All right, so we're gonna raise that up to a boil, put the lid on. And Cynthia Wesley, if you're out there in the stratosphere watching, I am using your Tefal pan. And no, you cannot have it back. No, we didn't. Okay, good. Oh, not good, but I was looking for it and I couldn't find it. So thankfully, I didn't miss it. And I guess we'll catch you guys on Sunday before I go live. And we're just gonna kind of mix that around, let that salt get in there. Salt be just fine. Kind of popcorn style this. There we go. And we're gonna let that come to a quick boil. And then once that boils, we are going to, as I try not to touch my face, then we're going to let that simmer for 15 minutes. Once we get to that point, then we'll start the salsa. I'm just going to do the salsa because this is just a throw together garden salsa that I'm going to do. It's not anything that anybody couldn't do themselves, but and I don't even have my ingredients out for it because I decided to do this pretty quick. And then, like I said, Ma Badger called me and gave me an update on her new television set up. She was kind of asking me how to do some things on with her new TV and all that. So, and like I said, when Ma Badger calls, Honey Badger has to answer. It's just the way that goes. So this will take just a second, and I'm gonna clear off my station over there real quick. You guys can watch that simmer up, start to boil, and that's what we're gonna do. So just let me get rid of these stems real quick. There we go. Boom. And then we'll jar this up. I'm just gonna jar it up, and we'll use a vacuum seal. Kiana, what's going on? Good to see you. Good to see you. Yeah, we're just watching some peppers boil for just a second while I move some of my stuff around right quick. I don't need the scale anymore, so I can move that off to the side, and we'll come back over here. There we go. There we go. I really don't even need this cloth any longer. I was just using that to dry the peppers on, so we can get rid of this too. Because, you know, doing this is, like I've said many times, like working in an elevator. But it keeps everybody right where I need them, right here in front of me. So, and this salsa is one that I'm just going to throw together. Yeah, that's already starting to get the side effects of the, if you can see this, the steam is kind of blowing right toward me. So it's kind of like being at a riot. Yeah. Kind of like having my own riot right in my kitchen. That'll open it up. Time to get the peppers out of the pantry. For me or you, Rusty? Because that's what I'm about to do myself. I'm about to get the peppers, the dehydrated ones out, because I can just use the dehydrated one. I don't need all that. But anyway, I'm gonna grab some cilantro out. Rusty, your favorite. Get that. I'm gonna get my tomatoes that I picked this morning out, and we're gonna go from there. Ivan said hello. Hello. Yeah, Idea's thinking the same thing. So let's get our tomatoes out from this morning. We got some oregano that I picked this morning. We got some cilantro from the store that I did not pick this morning, and I'll grab an onion, and we're gonna go from there. Let's see what else, if there's anything else in the, oh, and a lime. Grab a lime out too. That's what I'm thinking about it. Gotta make sure I got the limes, because salsa ain't nothing without lime. Well, Rusty, you're not gonna eat it. I know, and if I made that, you're not gonna eat it anyway. Salsa with cilantro or salsa without cilantro. And you definitely won't be here tomorrow for my tacos. Let's see, and I gotta get an onion together. Oh, that's a fresh bag of onions. And one little, let's see, turn this down, turn that down to simmer and hit our timer for 15 minutes. As I'm getting a steam bath I'm getting a hot pepper steam bath. So, and an onion. All right, cool. So let's get that. Move the stand out of the way so I've got a little room to not knock this over, and we'll get going. I will need the vinegar, but I don't need it right this second. So let's cut up some onion. We'll get need a little bowl. I need some kind of a bowl here. Grab a bowl, and we'll cut all of our fixings. There we go. So let's get about half this onion, half that onion in there, maybe a little more. These are pretty small. That should be about enough onion. That out of the way, so we can peel. And we don't have to. I don't have to peel or make this anything pretty, because it's just going to be thrown into. I'm going to do this in the blender. If I can get the thing off there. Oh, we'll turn that over this way some. There we go. Much better. Let's see. I hit 2,000 subs today. Hopefully they stay. Dude, I tell you what, I've totally given up on having subs come and stay, because YouTube robbed me of a ton of subs just the other day. So if there's anybody out there who hasn't liked and subscribed, please like and subscribe, because there's no possible way that I lost that many subs in one fell swoop like that. There's no way that happened. And I'm not being vain or anything like that, but it's like I took a week and a half break and came back to YouTube, and there was nobody there. And like last night, we did a live stream, and it said one thing at the end. Yeah, congrats, by the way, absolutely. As I'm sitting here bitching, but there's no way that I went from having 900 views at the end of the live stream to today is down to 750. So there's no way I lost 200 views in the amount in 24 hours. There's no possible way that happened. So I don't know what's going on with YouTube, but there's a lot of other platforms out there. I like YouTube. I watch YouTube every day. And I'd like to continue to do that, but if you can't, I've been sitting there struggling to get, every time I get 20 subscribers, I end up with 10. It's kind of frustrating. I mean, I don't do this for subscribers, but it's kind of nice, kind of a nice little reward when you put the effort in to have these things, to do these things, then, you actually get what they say you got. So I got a nice Cherokee purple tomato. You seen these? I love these things. I'm going to grow these every year from now on. Yeah, up and down the last couple months. 100%, man. 100%. And like I said, I don't do this to get paid, and I definitely don't do it for the, for any kind of clout by any standard. But it's just, it's kind of nice when, you're getting what they say to begin with. And I know there's bots and stuff like that out there that you have to kind of work around, but at the same time, anyway, enough about that. I'm not going to sit and whine about it. Let's see, so we'll throw a little bit of cilantro in there, get rid of our stems, and there we go. Throw those in there, into the bowl. See if I got you guys set up kind of halfway decent. There we go. Maybe I'd have more subs if I get my camera angle straightened out instead of just pointed at in thin air. All right. But yeah, so we got about 10 minutes left on that. And we've got a jar sitting there waiting for everything. Let's see, check comments. But yeah, I was just wondering who would actually, I was kind of wondering who'd show up, but like I said, I did say that I would, the next time I did the hot sauce, that we would make that together, and it's just so super easy. It's so easy. And so I don't know how economical it is, because I mean, I water those pepper plants every day, but the nice thing is that I know where my stuff's at. I know who made it. So there we go, we got that. I don't need any more cilantro in there. That's probably plenty. 20 in the room, hit the button, please. Yeah, thanks. Thanks, Rick. Thanks for reminding everybody. If I ever decide to put moderators on, Rick, I think you're going to be, I think if you'd want it, I think I'd throw you in as a moderator. You do a great job. So we'll take my today's pickings of cherry tomatoes along with the other Cherokee purple. And I just can't go on about how much I love those Cherokee purples. They are Super, super good. Well, we got about 40 cherry tomatoes there. And some onion. And then we're going to cut up a little bit of the lime and squeeze that in. Say about half a lime, about all we need. Get the juice of that in there. Should have rolled those first. That's a little trick I picked up that I never thought of till here recently either. Was rolling the limes first and getting the juice out of them, and then actually doing that, then squeezing them and getting the juice out. Get some of that lime down in there as well. Okay, there we go. There we go. There's that. And then the spices we'll put in once I throw it into the blender. Some say to roll in the microwave for 10-15 seconds. I've never heard that, but I would buy that to be true. Okay, so we got that bowl. We're going to set that off to the side because I'm going to get these gloves off and I'm going to bring over the blender. So I have to stare at the countertop for just about 10 seconds. As I get the blender out. Now one thing I will remind everybody about when you do this sauce, because I might forget to say it after the fact, but when you throw the peppers into here, when you throw them in the blender to make your hot sauce, make sure you take the top thing in the blender here, sorry. There we go. But make sure you take the top piece out of it and cover it with a rag, because if this is even mildly warm, anything that you do in a blender could just, the heat it'll build up heat and then it'll just blow that stuff right off the top of there. So you don't want to do that. Let me move that up just a little bit. But for now, I'm going to leave it on there. So if I forget, please remind me. Let's see, make that, there we go. And we're going to stop and get something to drink. Maybe use a little bit of that lime into my water. With that, get a little lime in the coconut, as the song goes. There we go. I plan on doing a lot more of this later. Put lime in my drinks, but it's not going to be water. I can tell you that for an absolute fact. So here we go. Take that off there. We got about 6 minutes until the peppers are going to be ready. So there we go. Right there. All right. So let's take our tomatoes and our onions and all that other stuff and our cilantro, and we'll throw that into there. There we go, we got that, and away we go with that. That looks good already. That looks like the makings for some serious pico de gallo right there. We just stop and go pico de gallo, but that's not what I'm after. So let me grab some cumin. And we're going to go 1/2 teaspoon of cumin into there. So let me see. 1/2 teaspoon of cumin. There we go. Boom. 1/2 teaspoon. Throw that into there. And throw this out of the way. Gonna toss in a sprinkle of black pepper. into there. We're going to get some regular black pepper into here, because that just looks better that way. And about a half teaspoon of salt. About a half teaspoon of salt into there. That looks like just about half. We're going to do, I only have a fourth of a cup, but we want to do about an eighth of a cup. We're going to eyeball it. About an eighth of a cup to a third of vinegar. So there we go, we got that in there. You don't want to over vinegar, but you don't want to lose the vinegar either. And then I'm going to grab my dehydrated chili, my cayennes from over here, and we're going to throw some of those into there. We got 1, 2, 3, and somewhere down in here I have a Tabasco pepper, a couple Tabasco peppers hiding out. So let me see if I can find those in there. I do want a Tabasco pepper in there. But I don't think this jar, I think I've used them all. Oh, there's one. If I can get my mitts into that. And then one, as I dropped it. I dropped it. There we go. Can he find it? Yes. There we go. And 1 Tabasco pepper. So we're going to have some spicy in there. Have that spicy going on. And then the top on it. There we go. Boom. There's that. And that's it. That's all you need for that. Okay. Move that out of the way. Oh, that smells really good. It smells. Oh, you know what I forgot? The adobo powder. Adobo powder, I forgot that. It was sitting right in front of me. It's a little sprinkle of adobo. And these are 2 things I did forget. And a little sprinkle of chili powder. There we go. And we'll hit it again. Maybe a little more chili powder than that. Humidity's gotten to my chili powder. There we go. Just a smidge. In there. There we go. Now that's it. Salsa. Let's get this off of there. Move that out of the way. That over there. Take the top off. Put that onto here. One jar of salsa. And I know that looks a little creamy, but after this sits overnight, those are done. If that sits overnight, that's going to be just fine. That's going to be awesome. And it's going to darken up as well too. Yeah, thanks Rick. Thanks, appreciate it. So we'll throw that in the fridge. And then I've got just enough for a little bit on the side. A little bit of that side piece salsa. And I think this container will do it. And I'll keep this for dipping here this evening. Okay, so take that off of the stove. Set that on the side. We're not quite ready for that yet. And this thing. There we go. So we'll cut all that down there, get all that goodness into the pouring section. And that will thick. It looks a little soupy, but after it sits overnight, this is gonna be, or later today even, it's ready to go. That'll be ready. All right, so we got that one done. Voila. Looks, so like I said, it's a little soupy, but it'll thicken up just a smidge. It'll be good for pouring. So let me rinse out my blender, because we're ready for that right about now. Let me rinse my blender out, because I'm going to need that for the next round. And I only have one blender, so it is what it is. Yep. Okay, so there's that. So we've got our other, and if you need to put more vinegar in, which I think I'm going to need to, because sometimes when I make the sauce, the hot sauce, the vinegar will evaporate a little bit too much. Oh, and I forgot the oregano. There's my oregano patch that I added. I'll add that here in a little bit. I'll add that later. I knew there was something I was forgetting. But I'll add that in just a little while. Because you always want to add a little bit of oregano into your salsa. But I'll just chop that up and put that in there. Okay, so let me take the top out of there, like I said to. Rinse my lid off. There we go. Wipe that down. Well, like I said, I'll just chop up some oregano and add that in here in a minute. Pros and cons of cooking live. So we settled up there. All right, cool. So we'll throw that in there. Just go straight into this, into there. As the song goes, that's all you need. Lock that down, make sure that's locked into place. Put our lid back on, and if this is too thick, we'll just add a little bit more vinegar, but I think this should be okay. And we'll just take the lid off, like I said to do to begin with. There we go. So it doesn't blow off. Okay. There we go. And not much mess on the rag, by the way. There we go. So we're all good with that. And then we look for the jar that I swore was right in front of me, but it is not. Move the blender out the way. Blender base. Anyhow. And I had a jar, there it is, right here. So then we're going to add our funnel to that. Rinse that off. There we go. Right here. Is that all in the shot? Yep, it's all in the shot. So, and we'll get our spatula back out. Kind of push that stuff down into there, get it all into the goodness. Now, I won't be adding any vinegar because I think that's going to be thin enough. I think that extra quarter cup made a bigger difference than a big difference into the thickness, as opposed to how I did it with the Tabasco. Tabasco sauce. So I do like that adding the 1/4 of the vinegar into there. Kevin Long, what's going on, buddy? Good to see you. Let me get my strainer unburied. Forgot to do that. That's this right here. So there's that. Yeah. Definitely just about. Okay, so we got our strainer over top of this. Very slowly, because you don't want to outdo the strainer. But you got that goodness. You guys see that okay? Dripping down to the bottom. There we go. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to give that a second to kind of do its thing. Dig into my drink. Like I said, don't get rid of the pulp. Save that. You can dehydrate it and make like a crushed cayenne pepper mix. You can use it to make a blend of your own. If you dehydrate that on some parchment paper, on something in the stove, you can dehydrate this pulp down, or you can just what I like to do is I just leave the pulp, put it in a jar, seal it up, throw a little vacuum seal on it, leave it in the fridge, and it's great for adding to tacos. It's great for adding to pizza. Anything like that. Anything that you would want to have, anything that you would want to, smear a little heat on. Let's see, I'm gonna I always feel like take something and sort of push it down a little bit, and this seems to work fairly well of getting the pulp out of there. There you go. Kind of getting that down into there and getting all the liquid out. Because you really want to get as much, because you'll be surprised how much you don't get out of that amount. Because you saw all the peppers, and you will be surprised how much you don't get out of that. And if you got cheesecloth and you want to try to use cheesecloth and squeeze it out, that'll work. I would imagine that would work too. But I've had, this seems to be fairly quick. And then we'll just scrape that off and do it again until it's down to just almost like a tomato paste. But this works really good. Chili, throw a couple teaspoons or however much you want to kind of jazz up your chili or anything like that. Taco meat. This paste is really worth not ditching. It works really well. There we go. And if you want, you can leave that sit on there as long as you want, but just for the sake of time, I'm just kind of going to put that what I've got in there off to the side. After I give it one more good squeeze. There we go. Because you definitely want as much as you can possibly get out of this. Because it took me all summer. These peppers have been growing since May. 1st of May, I put these out. So I want to get everything out of them I possibly can to justify my water bill. There you go. So we got that part, and then I gotta get another little container out to get the pulp, because I use that. Let's see, I have a pro tip for you. Mix a little bit of olive oil with your cilantro and make it easier to scrape into the trash can. Man, that's a great, man, you need to come up with pro kitchen tips and do a video on that. That one that's like 1 million views waiting to happen for you. That's got to be 1 million views. So scrape that down into there. and we'll go into the next, for the next round in there. Like I said, don't go over top of the funnel. That's how I get out of inviting Rusty over for tacos. I just put cilantro on everything. He knows better than to show up. Put that down into there. Pro tip. That's funny. I should have seen that coming. I should have known that was coming like before I even got halfway through the comment. I should have known better. So we'll let that sit on its own, and then we'll mash that back down. And here's the paste by itself. That stuff is gold. I'm telling you, it's so worth it to keep that around. And if you're going to use your hot sauce right away, you can even add a little bit of the pulp in there to kind of thicken it up. But I like that. With the quarter. I think maybe instead of adding a quarter, I think I'd go 1/8 of a cup, which I did. I think I did about, what did I do? I didn't quite do it. I did a third. My bad. I did a third of a cup roughly. So I think I do 1/8 of a cup. But if you have because I know the Tabasco sauce I used the last batch I did and have been using, I just did 1 cup of vinegar, and it's hard to get out of the, I almost want to take off the dropper insert on the top and just sort of pour it on. So that's just not quite enough. But you can add, you can do it any way you want, really. You can add it out, just, basically have at least 1 cup of vinegar for that. And the more runnier, the thinner you want it or the thicker you want it, you can do that on your own. But this definitely works out. I will have to I'll have to chop up some oregano and put back into those salsas, because it's just not salsa. It's one thing to have the, it's one thing, cilantro for everybody is a little bit optional. But oregano is not. But I've noticed that when I make salsa, and if I add green pepper to it, too much green pepper, which is why I didn't put any in there, it sort of starts getting, it starts to take on like an Italian, like a spaghetti sauce taste. Okay, and now we'll get back out and use this thing again, use the ladle, and get every drop out of there we can get. We just made a lot of stuff out of not very much out of the garden, that's for sure. And the cilantro you can grow in about 40 days in your garden. I grow cilantro for the cardamom, for the seeds of it. So I don't keep a lot of cilantro around, because you can go to about any grocery store on the planet and get cilantro in a bundle for about 90 cents. And then whatever you don't use, you can dehydrate and keep around for later, which is probably going to what's going to happen to the rest of that cilantro after tomorrow. So there we go. All right, cool. Give that one last squeeze. And there we are. One last squash real quick. Kind of leave that on there as I check the comment section. Later, Eric. Oh, Eric, you gotta go. Eric's the mod for Natalia's Fitness, so she might be going live too. So Natalia's Fitness is her channel's pretty fun. And she's a Ukrainian, what do you call that? Personal trainer, and she has her little channel that she does. So even if you're not in fitness and you're just into Ukrainian chicks that live in New Zealand, there you go. I mean, it's kind of a double whammy. She also cooks too. She does make some really cool stuff. If you're trying to find some international dishes, and things to try, she does make traditional Ukrainian food, which is pretty good. I did do her pierogies one time, and those came out really nice. So there you go. Let's see if there's any comments in there. Nothing. So we ended up with 1 cup of paste, of a nice chili paste, which a lot of people pay, you know, big money for chili paste. You just got yours for free, kind of left over from your sauce mix, and you got sauce. Well, I don't know what all that. I know chili paste is kind of pricey. Anyway, I'll set this off so I don't have. I'm not gonna dig for a lid right now. And this will, as it cools, thicken up just a little bit. But there we go. So you've got cayenne pepper sauce, and you've got chili paste and salsa, all in I don't know, maybe 45 minutes. It's not too bad. And you're gonna want to let that cool. And as it cools, it thickens. That's another thing. I know it looks really thin right now, but it will. And if you want to thicken it up even more, leave it in the blender longer and whip it, and it'll thicken that up as well. But this will thicken up as it cools. And right now it's actually still really hot. So, there we go. And we've got some hot cayenne sauce. Ever make chili oil? I like it on eggs. You know, chili oil is, I've thought about, Rick, making chili oil out of that paste, to be super honest. But I got a feeling that that's not gonna, that might not always go. You know, that might not work very well. But anyway, I think that's about all I got. I'm gonna, I've got to run out and I've got to go get drinks for this evening and get my grill started. So I'm gonna let everybody get out of here. I don't know where the Beegs is. I really don't know where the Beagle is. She hasn't been out here, but I'd imagine that the sight of the smell of the sauce is kept. That would be good also on pasta. Yeah, it'd be great on pasta. But yeah, so that works. Like I said, this works with either it works with either Tabasco peppers, and it works on it works for the cayenne peppers. And like I said, I'll just show you real quick because you can see how thin that is. And some people may think, oh man, that's really way thinner than I want. But I did the same exact recipe with the Tabasco peppers, except I left them in there to whip a little bit longer. And that's how thick that one is. You can see that it's sticking to the sides and all that. So if you want it to be a little thicker, leave it in the blender a little longer. Hold back on your vinegar. But I wanted this one to be a lot thinner, so that's what we did. But yeah, and it's real versatile. And this has gotten, actually, the longer I've let it sit, this has been in there, you know, since the 29th of August, and this has just gotten better as I went with it. So there you go. Let's see, got to start tendering pork chops. Yeah, Rusty, I'm getting out of here. It's 5 o'clock. I've got to do the 5 o'clock somewhere thing at some point today. So I'm going to be heading out myself. I thank everybody that stopped by. For the folks out there that have not hit the subscribe button, that maybe aren't in the chat, because I know most of you that are in the chat today have already done so. But if you have not, please do hit the like button on your way out. And we'll see you Sunday in the comments section. All right. See you.